Now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. Let's bring in a RISE analyst, Constance Ikoku. Good morning, Constance.
Good morning, Charles. How are we today?
Looking forward to this segment.
Oh, really? Okay. Yolanda, are you looking forward to?
I am, with bated breath.
All right. All right. We will see how that goes. To look at the papers today, with us, we have Iyo Akerega. He is a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with this day. In this day, Akpabio restates regard for women, strongly denies sexually harassing Senator Natasha. Senate President Godswill Akpabio says he never attempted sexually harassing Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduanga. Akpabio also asked the Ethics Committee to begin investigation into this allegation following a petition written by Senator Natasha. Although some senators argued that the investigation should not begin because of Senate rules, that petitions shouldn't be written and signed personally by serving senators. Akpabio refused to walk back his decision for the investigation to start. I mean, this story has spawned or is spinning out of control, with many people granting different interviews. We have senators that have granted interviews. We also have the social media eating it up. The Senate will have to move very fast on this. You know, to put it away, it is damaging to their reputation, Iyo.
Absolutely, it is. As we speak this morning, I must say that this is a big distraction for the whole country. It is a massive deviation from what I think the Senate should be doing. Unfortunately, it has come up, and so it has to be addressed. But the point I think I would like to make this morning is that the Senate setting up a committee to investigate this allegation, for me, yes, that is within the rules of the Senate. But because of the seriousness and the weighty allegation, I would have thought that there should be an independent committee to investigate it. Maybe even outside of the Senate, you know, get some credible people to look at allegations, you know, so that everybody will be at peace. Because there's a legal praxis, nemo judes in causa sua. You can't be a judge of your own cause. There have been arguments that, the allegations have not come to full hearing, so Akpabio shouldn't step aside. But the fact that he is there, whether the allegation is true or not, is before the courts. Really, we can't go too deep into the merits of the allegation, but the fact that it's already an allegation and it is pointing at an individual, in this case, the Senate President, that is the highest office, the number 3 person in the country, I would have thought that if I were the Senate President, I would first step aside, so that once you step aside, it gives the impression that you really have nothing to hide. But I would have thought that Akpabio should step aside, really, whether it is true or not. You know, that's where to start from. And then an independent panel of investigation to look at it. And if it is found that Natasha Akpoti herself, you know, has just come up with a frivolous, baseless allegation, then she has no business in the Senate. That is my take.
But Iyo, you know, the Senate is run as an institution by rules. You know, so what happens is that when anything comes up, allegations come up, there is an ethics committee that usually you can send the petition to, and then they'll look at it. And from what we gather, that committee is also independent, you know. So the Senate is run by rules, and that's what a lot of senators have said. We have to listen to the interviews that have been granted by different senators on this matter. First of all, it was a matter of allocation of seats. That was the issue from the first day. And then all of a sudden, Senator Natasha went to the media and started talking about something totally different, sexual harassment. So, I mean, the whole thing is just so complicated right now. Charles, you want to say something?
Well, it was as if it was a culmination of a lot of things, according to Natasha. What happened that day is just a culmination of a sequence of events, and that's why she now made reference to the sexual harassment thing. It was more like, today you are humiliating me for the last time because you've been asking me out, or you've been soliciting, and now I come here and you are changing my seat. It's just part of a sequence of actions you've been taking against me, Natasha, because I have refused your advances.
But she wasn't the only one her seat was moved, and it's very common. Let's stay on facts here. It is very common to move seats in the Senate, and she isn't the only one that her seat has been moved when it comes to that particular issue.
Agreed. But I guess that particular day, she took it personal. I mean, she was taking it personally because I mean,
it came to a head, I believe.
As far as she was concerned,
yes.
she was concerned,
I don't think
things
it's
had
about
actually
the
come
seat.
to a head. So it was not just about the seat.
Not at all.
Like I said, it was a culmination of different things, and the seat change was just a trigger. Unfortunately, I think it's a major distraction. I mean, it has been so exhausting listening to the whole thing and both sides washing their dirty linen in public. And you know what? A lot of things are going to emerge. You know, Dr. Akpabio did mention that, okay, the Senate president should take a back seat to prove his innocence. It's a moral issue.
It's the right thing to do.
I know that he is not going to do that because it's not our way. Definitely not our way.
There was also another interview that was granted by Senator Nwebonyi, where he said he was at the event in 2023 where all of them, or most of the senators, went to Senator Akpabio's house in Akwa Ibom. They were invited, and he rode in the same vehicle with Senator Natasha and her husband. And so in that interview she was claiming that nothing happened. So there are different sides to this story. So at the end of the day, the Senate really has to move quickly. There are people that are defending Senator Natasha. There are people that are saying, that are defending Senator Akpabio, saying nothing of that sort happened. At the end of the day, an investigation has to occur, and so that this can be put to rest.
Okay, but I think that the law should also take its course. Sorry to cut you off there, Constance. I think the law should take its course, and I think she deserves a fair hearing. I've heard a lot about, you know, her character, about lots of different things, but at this point, let's stay focused on what allegations are on ground and focus on that.
But the court case is different. When she went to court, she was talking about an aide to the Senate president, accusing her of dressing indecently,
yes,
and using certain words against. So that's totally different. So when you say the law should take its course, it's a totally different case. It has nothing to do with sexual harassment.
I mean, but do you think those kinds of statements are right to mention that somebody's
you are saying that the law should take its course. So that's a different case. The law will take its course there. You know, she didn't go to court on sexual harassment. She just went to the media to accuse the Senate president of sexual harassment. Anyway, like, you know, we've said, it's a distraction. Everybody's talking about this. There are other issues in the country. So let's move on to our next story. New Telegraph this morning. Supreme Court judgment against interests of Rivers people, according to Sage, says verdict not contemplated by law. Fubara's handover directive to HLGAs in order. Rivers Electoral Commission fixes August 9 for fresh LG poll. I mean, at this point, doesn't matter whether, or doesn't matter what Professor Issei Sage thinks, the court has already ruled, so you have to obey it.
Well, it does matter. If you look at the pedigree of Professor Issei Sage, he's a senior advocate of Nigeria, you know, a professor of constitutional law. He's a well-respected lawyer in the country, a human rights activist. As a young journalist, I used to go and interview him. He has very strong opinion on national issues. So, I mean, you can't just discard what Professor Sage is saying this morning. But with regards to, with specific regards to the Supreme Court judgment and the Rivers State, what's happening in Rivers State, the 27 lawmakers, whether they defected or not, and whether they were rightly removed, whether it was proper or improper for the governor not to have dealt with them, and all of that, put it in one basket. If you look at this, I've looked at snippets of the Supreme Court judgment. If you read that judgment, it is a sound judgment. I'm not a lawyer, but it is very sound. The reasoning, the legal reasoning there, you can hardly fault it. All right? But you see, the law is what the court says the law is. All right? So and that is the apex court in the land. They've taken a position. There's nothing anybody can do about it right now. But when the Supreme Court takes a position that Rivers State, which is one of the big donors to the national basket in terms of revenue, should be excluded from allocations, that is where I am concerned because, and then look at that as economic sabotage on the Rivers people itself. The Supreme Court could have taken the decision and actually asked the governor to comply with its judgment and give certain rulings. But to say that because the local government election did not comply with previous court rulings, therefore, for now, it should not benefit from allocations. I mean, that's worrisome. You can see what is happening. There's a ripple effect already. The John National Congress is threatening that it will shut down oil wells at a time that the federal government is looking at. Also, if you even look at the 2025 budget, it is predicated on over 2 million barrels of oil per day at $75 per barrel. So if there is a reduction in oil production, that is going to adversely and significantly affect the 2025 budget. So there should be a way around this. And the governor said, Fubara said he's going to comply with the Supreme Court judgment. And he's taking steps to do so.
All
it's
right.
Unfortunate.
The Rivers story is unfolding. I mean, it's been ongoing for a while, so we'll be following that. Let's look at Daily Trust. Funtua battles T.Y. Danjuma, others over 9 Mobile. A federal high court in Abuja on March 9 will hear this ongoing dispute over the ownership and control of Emerging Markets Telecommunication Service, which is the holder and operator of 9 Mobile. The plaintiff, Issa Funtua, sued General T.Y. Danjuma and his company as well as other defendants over the ownership and control of 9 Mobile. This has been going on for a while. I mean, 9 Mobile is one of those telecommunications companies that has been it's been pretty much locked in legal battles, from one ownership to the other. Charles, it's so unfortunate for this company.
From Econet
yes,
to Vodacom to V-Mobile to Celtel to Airtel and now 9 Mobile, all the name changes over the years. And of course, it's one dispute to the other. I mean, I remember when it was transiting from Econet to Vodacom, Otudeko was also involved in some lawsuit over the ownership of the company. And then, well, it was quite a very interesting saga at that time. They never really did transition to Vodacom. I think they became V-Mobile afterwards. And then, right now, it's another court battle. So I'm wondering what the next name change is going to be.
Yeah, well, it depends on who wins. And if they decide to rebrand, change the name and regain the company. I don't know, we'll see, but a lot happening there. We'll also look at Vanguard, a newspaper. 88th birthday. In my lifetime, Nigeria will be good, will be great, according to former President Olusegun Obasanjo. It says Africa must free itself from colonialism. And President Bola Tinubu also congratulated former President Obasanjo, saying that he is an extraordinary leader. I remember the last time I saw President Obasanjo was at former President IBB's book launch. Yes, at book launch. He was looking strong as usual, very humorous, agile, working without any aid at all. Wow. And, he's been a man that is blessed. And I think for him to also say that Nigeria will be great in his lifetime, I guess he's hoping to live very long. Iyo, what do you have to say about our own Baba Obasanjo?
Well, the former president is a man that I respect so much. I have a personal respect for him. He has done so well for himself, for his country, for Africa, and for the world. He continues to remain a recurring decimal in the political life of Nigeria, Africa. Don't forget, he was chairman of the Eminent Persons Group, where he used that group to rally African leaders, to try and reconstruct an African Renaissance. But that didn't go too far. And of course, at the world stage in African Union, is a very prominent figure. At the United Nations, when he was president, when he speaks, Nigerians were indeed very proud of him. When he speaks, the world listen. And I remember when he met former president of the United States, I think that should be is it Barack Obama now, like that. I mean, you could see him looking the president of the United States eyeball to eyeball, and that is how it should be. Unlike now, you find African presidents groveling before the U.S. president. Obasanjo wasn't that kind of man. He's written so many books, and he has been able to document not only Nigerian history, his role in the affairs of this country, the political, evolution of the Nigerian state. He was there in the Nigerian Civil War. He's a young military officer. So he played a key role in the war. He was the one that took the instruments of surrender from General Effiong when Ojukwu went on exile to Ivory Coast, now Cote d'Ivoire. And so he's just been there. And as president of Nigeria between 1999 and 2007, his impact was massive. He established the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the ICPC, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense, other institutions that has helped to stabilize democracy to a very large extent. And he's still there, going strong. So this morning, I say congratulations to Chief and General of the Masses, Olusegun Obasanjo. He's the Baba of all time, and indeed he has done well.
Okay, let's quickly look at one more story in the local papers before we go to the international. Daily Sun, hope rises for diabetic patients as FEC approves 10.3 billion naira for locally made diagnostic kits and others. Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, said this reflects government's commitment to improving healthcare accessibility and affordability. And I mean, I have to ask, Yolanda, if you want to jump in here, you have to wonder why it took so long for us to think about producing this sort of kit locally. And there are a lot of patients in Nigeria that suffer from diabetes.
And Nigeria has such a high percentage of people that suffer from diabetes. And it's really an anticlimax. It's like, yes, positive news, but did it have to take this long? Absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly. And when you think about how many graduates we churn out from universities across the country every year, if these people are trained to think about the problems of the country and provide solutions, there you go, you're creating jobs, you're creating industries, and people will not be escaping the country, running abroad in order to earn a better living. But, you know, well,
the sad reality of where we stand right now.
Yeah, it's happened eventually. So I hope that there'll be other value chains to have a better health care for the country.
Very well spoken.
Yeah, to the international headlines, we have a Citizen newspaper. Here, budget, how to find the money. South Africa has a 58 billion rand shortfall in its budget this year, and they're working on a plan to get the money flowing. This report tells us. We also have a story on pensioners. Pensioners slate paltry increase. The retired government workers say the 2.9% hike to their pay is an insult. They complain that inflation rates is decimating whatever pension that they are earning. I mean, when I looked at the South African inflation rate, Yolanda, it's 4.5%. Compare that to Nigeria, 24.84%. Yes.
And we're in the double figures, just as Charles has said. You know, I was just thinking when you're speaking of the pensioners, let's hope that these are real pensioners and not ghost pensioners, as we have heard. But, you know, let's see what the analysts have to bring up. They said that they need, you know, significant reforms. But just like you said, I can't get my focus off that 4%. Nigerians are really trying, to be honest, because if you look at that disparity, it's quite a bit.
It is quite a bit. Onto the Times newspaper. More people would die after U.S. cuts, says Ukraine MP, warning as Trump severs intelligence link. Starmer ready to go back to White House already. All this means that Ukraine intelligence system is weakening, and it's hindering it from deploying, or will hinder it from deploying long-range missiles or drones to hit targets in Russia. Charles, you know, why it seems to be heating up in the kitchen. The officials say intelligence sharing will only be restored if progress is made in peace talks. Now it seems like the ball is in Zelensky's court.
Donald Trump is actually bent on arm-twisting Volodymyr Zelensky to do his bidding. The man is just very, very interested in the minerals in Ukraine and not necessarily in the war between Ukraine and Russia. you know. So I guess it's just trying to profiteer from that situation.
Is it profiteering though, Charles? They're saying that they need to pay for the war. When you listen to President Trump, the U.S. has spent at least $300 billion in that war.
Yes.
So it's also about paying for that war.
No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I mean,
how does it work?
Well, you provided the assistance.
Absolutely.
Because it was in the interest of the United States.
Absolutely.
Because Russia is a major threat to U.S. interests. So
thank you, Charles.
Whenever they support an effort against Russia, it's actually undermining Russia's strength.
So you're saying that the U.S. was fighting a proxy war?
Absolutely. That is how it has always been.
So that is why President Trump is trying to end that war. Do you
President
get it now?
Trump has his own agenda.
He has his own agenda, yes.
He has his own agenda.
Okay. You have something to add, yes.
Maybe I should just quickly.
Yes, please.
It has always been in the interest of the United States as a key member of NATO, all right, to fund European countries and Ukraine. You know, Ukraine is the front line of Europe, the first defense of Europe and to America. So it is absolutely in the interest of the U.S., you know, to fund Ukraine. And as you already said, basically it is also in the interest of the U.S. to continue to fund Ukraine, withdrawing intelligence sharing, asking the U.K. not to share intelligence with Ukraine is part of the entire squeezing plan. And of course, maybe lastly, President Trump is already doing a deal with Vladimir Putin to wade in the Iran nuclear development. He's asking Russia to help the U.S., you know, to rein in Iran. So, I mean, it's just a deal between these two world leaders to the detriment of Ukraine.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't get to our last story, but before we go, we also remember that one of the issues of Russia is that NATO expansion, saying that they had an agreement that NATO should not expand, and that is how this war started. Anyway, hopefully next time we'll have more time to talk. But Iho Akerega, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
And thank you so much, Dr. Constance. I said I was really looking forward to today's
yes,
review.
That was good.
The time is very limited, so
unfortunately. But that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.